Direct from Foxborough, Massachusetts, the gem of Norfolk County, and taped at the studios of Foxborough Cable Access. It's Foxborough Central, and here's your host, Bob Hickey.
Hello, Foxborough. Welcome to another episode of Foxborough Central. My name is Bob Hickey. I'm your host for today. Thank you for taking a little bit of time out of your busy schedule to spend some time with us. Today, I'm going to have a chat, if we can, with Michael Weber. He's the Executive Director of Foxborough Cable Access. Mike, it's great to see you today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, before folks at home start thinking that Foxborough Central is going to be all about FCA, you might be surprised to know that without Michael Weber, Foxborough Cable Access would not be in this location, would not be doing what we're doing to the extent that we're doing it. Now, Foxborough Cable Access has been around for 30 years, but there's a really dynamic young man who has been leading our organization for, what, 10 years? 8 years?
Yeah, just over 10 years.
10 years now. Longer than I've been associated with the organization. So, you know, it's wonderful that you're able to take some time out of your busy schedule to spend some time with us. And really, what I'd like to do is get to know you a little better, let the folks at home get to know you a little better, but also talk about cable access for the coming TV season. Now, for a regular network, you hear the promos, you see the commercials. This fall on CBS, we have X, Y, and Z. This is your opportunity to do this fall on Foxborough Cable Access. Here we are.
And we have some really exciting stuff going on. First of all, you know, just congratulations once again on launching this new show. I'm thrilled to see the studio getting utilized with a variety of different shows. We can talk about some of the things that are upcoming, but you know, this is why I love to come to work every day. I have one of those jobs where I feel like, yeah, this is exciting. It's something different every day, and so it's a lot of fun. But we have a lot of things coming up this fall.
Well, you know, that's really nice to hear you say. But you know, your creativity is part of what really breeds the success here at Cable Access. You do some things with this organization that maybe some other community organizations don't do. And full disclosure, I'm on the board of directors. I've been here since 2005, 2006, somewhere around there. But just in the short time that I've been associated with this group, you know, the conversion of technology from tape to computer files. You know, it's no longer a VHS or whatever the big tapes you used to use, then to a DVD, and now it's just a point and a click, and you have a file that you double click and it's there. That every step of technology has required upgrading equipment, a change in how you have storage, production, display, how you get the information to you and then back out to the community. And you've been a leader in every step of that. And I've noticed that as we go into the different meetings.
I'm a techie at heart, so I enjoy this stuff. And it certainly has been a challenge over the years. But we're getting closer and closer to the point at which, you know, hopefully at some point we will be totally file-based. We won't be dealing with tapes and different things. And that does sort of free us up to be able to do a lot of neat things where we're able to distribute and get things on the web and archive them in different ways.
You know, and I want to talk about that too, because you have done such a great job of bringing our presence for cable access to the web at www.fcatv.org. And by the way, this is going to sound like a bunch of shameless plugs, and really it is, because what we're doing now is promoting cable access in Foxborough, what we have to offer, and really what you as Citizen J out in the community can get out of your own cable access group. This is a volunteer-based organization.
Right.
And our office is at 28 Central Street. I know where I am. At 28 Central Street, right here in beautiful downtown Foxborough. People can come in off the street, meet you, meet Mark Nash, Lauren Bertara, and the other folks here at Cable Access to learn more about how they can volunteer and become part of Make Productions, become a volunteer. We've got wonderful volunteers behind the camera today. Got you up awful early. Thank you for coming out. Applause to you. So there's so much to talk about. Let's talk about volunteers and let's talk about the fall schedule.
Right. I mean, we can buy equipment all day long. We can build studios all day long.
I'm the treasurer. We cannot buy equipment all day long.
You know, and I can advance technology as much as we want, but if we don't have volunteers, if we don't have people from the community who are willing to take that step, such as yourself, to come in, produce programming that's of interest to the town, then it's really all for naught. So, you know, we're only as good as what the residents are willing to engage with us and produce. So over the years, we've been very lucky to have consistent coverage of Foxborough Warrior sports, consistent coverage of high school music, parades, Founders Day parades, concerts on the Common, and we've always had kind of an anchor talk show in our studio of some form or another. Over the years, and to talk about important stuff.
Charlie Massey's wonderful years, and
so we've always had live election coverage. We've always had kind of a wide range at government meetings of things going on in the community. So if you're a new resident moving to town, you should be able to turn on to our channel and sort of get a flavor of the community, sort of put some names and faces together. And kind of know what's going on. And the more programming that we can do like that, the more important or the more valuable we are. Even when it becomes controversial topics, you know, I know Foxborough doesn't like to use or even talk about the word casino right now but throughout that process, our station was, in my view, a resource for information.
A conduit.
And both sides of that argument use the station to get information out to the community.
You know, that is extremely, and me, I'm very non-controversial. But with this program, Foxborough Central, this is to promote community awareness, promote events, people, and things going on in our community. So it was wholly appropriate that both sides use cable access, because as people who live in the community, work in the community, and are part of the community, we are an outlet. And what more appropriate way to be the outlet than to share the messages that people want to get? And we don't judge, we don't censor. It's really an opening for people to communicate.
Right, and that's really the whole crux of what public access was supposed to be all along, was that community soapbox where people could come in, share ideas, share opinions, and really create a community dialogue. And we were able to do that. And with the casino issue, I mean, the timetables were really short. I mean, we didn't have time to say, oh, sure, come on in, but you're gonna have to go through 3 months worth of training workshops and this and that. You know, we had to get them up to speed pretty quick and make channel time available to them pretty quick, so that because the thing was moving fairly fast. In addition to supporting the town government with meeting coverage, the selectmen had to move their meetings throughout town.
There was a lot going on, yes.
So it was a busy time, but it was also a great time for community television to be supportive for everybody. And so those are the kinds of things that kind of are exciting for us.
And that's a great example of the casino issue, because it showed that cable access is essentially a free venue for folks to make themselves heard. It didn't have any editing done. It didn't have any, as long as they meet, George Carlin's 7 dirty words rules prior to 10 o'clock at night. It's really an outlet. So you mentioned on the volunteers and getting people up to speed. So many cable groups charge their volunteers membership fees. Many cable groups make people go through X number of classes before they're able to join the fraternity. Something that's always excited me, if you will, is the flexibility of cable access to sort of be available to folks to get as much out of it as they wanted, or to bring their talent and experience already to the table and just have at it. So me walking in off the street, I don't know, which is why I'm sitting here, but I don't know anything about running a camera, editing, doing any of that magical stuff behind the scenes. How do I come in off the street and do this?
Well, first of all, we're blessed to be in the state of Massachusetts in that we have the highest concentration of public access stations in the entire country, kind of located in Massachusetts, a very supportive environment from a legislative standpoint for public access, which has allowed it to sort of grow and expand over the years. And a lot of the public access stations across the state sort of come together, share. We have a statewide network and servers that allow us to share programming. And every community has slightly different needs and wants, and we're able to kind of adjust to our particular communities. So here in Foxborough, our goal has always been to make ourselves as accessible as possible to those who want to take advantage of our services. So you're right, we don't charge membership fees. We don't charge for supplies like tapes and those kinds of things. If you're interested in taking some of our training workshops, we provide those at no charge. Our funding allows us to do that. Hopefully it will continue to allow us to do that. But really, there's no barrier to entry. There's no reason why anybody can't walk in off the street. Really, the only barrier for most people is time. That, you know, coming in here. But even that, some people say, well, how much time do I have to devote to this? We send out via email every week or every couple of weeks.
Crew call.
A little crew call.
That's right.
These are the upcoming productions coming up. And we have volunteers that help us once a year. And that's perfectly fine. That's what fits into their schedule. There's one particular show that they're interested in. They come in and help with that thing. We have other volunteers. They're here 3 times a week. They're working on any production that they possibly can because they just love it. It's really part of their life, whether that's on camera or behind. So we adjust to fit your schedule, and we're fine with that.
So you're saying I didn't actually need to bring donuts in for my friends here behind the camera?
We appreciated that.
Okay, all right. I like donuts too, so it's all good. So that is great to hear. So people can come in and participate as they want. Now, before we get into the fall schedule, and I'm really excited about talking about some of the things, you mentioned about our community needs. We've always been heavy on the sports and heavy on the music. We've got a phenomenal music program, of course, Mr. Massey leading all these years. The jazz band, the Concerts on the Commons series, sponsored these many years by the Foxborough JCs. This past year, you were able to do live streaming of the concerts.
Right.
That is something that kind of knocked my socks off, because who would think, who would do?
Right. A couple of years ago, we were able to take advantage of some fiber optic lines that are now laid out throughout the town, which the town built out, but we also extended for the common and other areas where we're trying to get as much fiber back to this building as possible so that we can broadcast live from most town-owned properties. Which is critical, I think, moving forward, and it's been a focus of ours over the last couple of years to be able to provide as much live programming as possible, such as parades, concerts, meetings, because we live in a society right now where people almost expect things to be live, where maybe even 10 years ago, we could get away with airing a football game a week later.
Right.
Not so much now. People want to see, and we have the capability of doing it, so why not? So that's been, and there's been a great response to that. We're expanding that by also streaming on our website to augment the channels whenever there's a special programming on.
And I hope that folks recognize that this special young man here, he has made this happen. This doesn't just happen. When he says take advantage of a fiber network, that was 3 years in the making, actually longer than that, plus funding, accessibility, the drops, the negotiations. Right. There was a ton of work that went into that. So,
well, and I also
folks at home, don't just let them say that and forget about it. That's good stuff.
Thank you, Bob. But I also want to make sure that I mention that we have a great relationship with the town of Foxborough. We're an independent nonprofit organization. But we can't do what we need and want to do without support from the town and from the cable companies. And the town has been a great partner. I feel like we have a good collaborative relationship.
And you work well with Randy Scollins, our town finance director, these past 7 years.
Without that support, we wouldn't have access to the fiber network. That infrastructure we wouldn't be able to utilize for the town as well as we are right now. And so while I feel like in return, we give a lot back to the town of Foxborough through government meeting coverage and kind of responding to their needs and getting announcements out. there's a back and forth there, and we just love that relationship.
It is a positive thing for Foxborough, and positive for Foxborough also are the new programs being generated right out of the studio. Long story short, we were on Belcher Road for these past 10-something years, 15 years actually. Right. 15. Starting off when cable was first begun up on North Street, correct? At that small
we were at
location?
131 Main Street, which was a small Massachusetts Cablevision building right next to Rochelle's at the time, which is now the Stop and Shop land. So we started there and then moved down to East Belcher Road, and now we're back sort of in the center of things here. It's
great to be here in the center of town, and our studio, I don't know if folks can see at home, but we've got windows, we've got sort of a Today Show vibe. It's just an exciting place, and the studio really lends itself to production. It's large, it's well lit, phenomenal sites as far as what you can do. You've got different sets. We even have a cooking studio.
We do.
That's something my mind is popping here. So
no,
anyway,
we just need somebody to host a cooking show. So if you have cooking skills that you want to share, please call us.
I might know some people, particularly up at Town Hall. They have this wonderful chili cooking contest.
I'm hearing about this. Yeah, I need to know more.
I'm going to put out some feelers. So if you're watching on TV, contact me. We'll talk. Until then, let's talk about some of the shows that we do have coming up this fall. Of course, it's huge sports season.
Right. So we have a great relationship with the sports booster clubs and organizations as well, which has allowed us to find volunteers from the community, very often parents and friends of players, to allow us to cover. We're covering varsity football. We've already done some field hockey games. We're doing boys and girls soccer games. Not every single home game, but some select games. And we'll in the winter season be covering basketball and even maybe some hockey games. So we have good coverage of what's happening out on the playing fields.
And all that coverage is provided by volunteers. You mentioned the boosters. Does that mean the boosters do the producing and do the volunteer work?
So the boosters are really the producers that come to us, tell us what games that they want to cover. They find camera operators. We try to support them by getting an engineer for the truck and some crew people for the truck. But it literally is...
You've got some phenomenally talented people, Mike Everson, of course, Nick Kaiser, many others. I apologize if I'm not going to start naming because I'm going to miss people, but you always see the blue shirts with FCA crew on the back. And
we're blessed to have a core group of people that are willing to help a lot of other volunteers get their productions done. So, because it's unreasonable to expect a boosters club to know how to, pull off a 4-camera production without some support. So, but they literally are producing. They are organizing it, getting the camera operators, setting up the cameras in the afternoon, rolling the truck out there. I mean, for a 7 o'clock start for a football game, the truck is there at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So what looks pretty good on television takes a lot of effort behind the scenes to pull off. And after the football game, I mean, we're usually one of the first ones on the field. We're likely one of the last ones there as well, because we've got to then pack all the staging and everything else. So it could be 10:30 at night that we're leaving. So it's a lot of effort, and it doesn't happen without the people.
That's great. And of course, with sports, we also have to go with the music. That's a huge part of what we as Foxborough identify ourselves with.
Right. And I mean, with the music program, the high caliber music program that we have here in Foxborough, it's obviously a joy to cover all their concerts, and both at the high school level and at the middle school level. And we've even covered elementary school music performances and plays. So we'll be covering that, and Neil Kaiser's been the producer of most of that music stuff for the last 7 to 10 years.
He does a great job.
And does an absolutely excellent job.
Does a great job
doing that.
So that is the outside the studio stuff. Let's talk now about inside the studio, inside the hallowed halls.
We just got the studio opened up like 2 months ago, and so we're really excited, and there's already been a lot of excitement about how we can utilize this studio and this space. Your show is launching here, but we also have
Foxborough Central.
Foxborough Central here. We also have a couple of shows that are kind of in the works, so to speak. we have 3 high school students, this is really exciting, that want to produce a Warriors sports show. I think the loose title is The Sports View, which I think is a takeoff of The View from network television.
Now that sounds a cross between The View and ESPN Sports Center.
Yeah.
I would pay to watch that.
Yes, and it's going to have highlights, interviews. It's going to be, you know, it's under development. 3 really engaged, excited students who have incredible schedules. I mean, they're at school all day long. 2 of these students are in football, so they're at practice till 6 o'clock at night, and they're still willing and interested to come in here nights, weekends, whatever, to try to get this show going. And what a great thing to have on your resume or your college application to say, I produced my own TV show for my community. And that's going to be a keepsake, by the way, for them moving forward. And it's a great thing for the community, you know, to see what's going on.
Now, these kids who are going to do this, and I should call them volunteers, but how did they get involved? Did they because I know that you've got a strong program, not you, but we've been very supportive of the Ahern Middle School.
Right.
As they've created a morning, what is it, a morning announcements /
Right, they call
news?
it ABC Ahern Broadcasting Club.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, and it's I'm going to get this wrong, but it's like 2 by something because it's I think 2 minutes of news. It's basically the morning announcements, but it's a news style production. And luckily, Foxborough Cable Access had enough spare equipment. I mean, this thing has been done on no budget. I mean, the schools were able to kind of designate a room, and we were able to put a few racks worth of equipment in there.
You built out a studio, if my
yeah.
Okay.
We built out a small studio in there, and
but what a great way for the middle school students to get exposed to television production,
get them excited about it.
Yeah, I mean,
and build some skills. I mean, on-camera presence, writing scripts, doing research, staying up on current events because they'll often bring in some of that kind of stuff into the news. I mean, they're learning important skills. This isn't just, you know.
Well, much credit to the teachers who are sponsoring that program out there and to the school for allowing it to happen. And part of that was with the build out, there are TV monitors in the classrooms. And so that makes it very appropriate for the Ahern Middle School. And what a great way to utilize that. I don't want to call it infrastructure, it sounds wordy, but what a great way to utilize that build out.
Right. And so you're right that once those students get a taste of that, when they move on to the high school, unfortunately right now there's not a video program up at the high school for them to take advantage of, although there's stuff in the works there. But we're here.
One of your many hats is trying to do that. So.
Right.
In fact, that's how you became involved with cable access.
Right. I grew up right here in town, and at the time, the middle school had gotten some camcorders donated to them through Foxborough Cable Access. And there's sort of a little pilot program kind of thing going on, and it got me excited. When I get into high school, I couldn't get away from this place. I mean, I was at every sporting event, studio shoot, anything that they'd let me help out with. So yeah, I took advantage of it.
So now you're nurturing the new generation.
Right.
That's wonderful. Like, time is fleeting.
Right.
We need to talk about other programs. You've got not only this program, and this is essentially going to be a community-based community opportunity for people, places, things, events to be publicized. Quick turnaround time, we've got wonderful volunteers, and hopefully we'll be doing a good job of getting the message out about things that make Foxborough special and things that make us the gem of Norfolk County and why you'd want to come into town and do something. So we've got so many great ideas about this program. Not even going to go down there, but you've also got other volunteers, Rick Plasmati, who's my partner on the annual Founders Day Parade live telecast.
Right. So Rick comes into our studio throughout the year and tries to do these kind of highlighted interviews, maybe a little bit longer format, to kind of get in depth and on a variety of different topics. One of his last ones he did was an interview with Keith Mansfield Beautiful, which is an organization running over there, and kind of wanted to spread the word about what they're doing. He's had the music groups in, some of the sports groups in, so that is ongoing. We have the hopefully I get the name right, the Disability Commission.
Yep.
There's a town committee. They're looking to spread the word and get information and resources out to people on the good things that are happening in Foxborough for folks with disabilities. And so that show's going to be launching. So there's like a lot going on. And I would just say that, because I know we're running out of time or getting near the end, if you have an idea, if you're in the community and you've got a show idea, don't just, I think a lot of people have come in and say, you know, I've had this idea for years, I've just never said anything, or you feel like you don't have the time. Just call us, stop by, let's have a conversation. It never gets off the ground until you at least have that conversation.
Cable access is a resource.
Yep.
And it's also a conduit, and people can do so much with their creativity is specific to each individual, and then what they have as an idea, maybe something you haven't thought of or hasn't been done before. Right. Wonderful stuff. You also have the ability now with the file serve and your networking on the local, national, and state level, that you have the ability to bring other programming to cable access.
Right.
So we're expanding our schedule to be not just studio-based or local sports, but what do you have coming down the pike?
Well, we want to bring in stuff that we think is relevant to the community, is of interest to the community. So in those off hours, nights, weekends, to kind of fill out the schedule, there's some like quality programs that we want to bring in. I used to love watching the NASA channel.
That's
right.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing that's of educational value or of interest to the community, one of the ideas or programs that we're going to be bringing in are TED Talks, which are fairly short programs. They're under a half hour, and they usually feature a guest speaker. TED was originally a conference that brought together thinkers and creative people, and Bill Gates was someone that did a TED Talk specific to education and how we can improve education in this country. And so we're going to be bringing those in this fall and featuring them on a weekly basis. One of the very first TED Talks that we're going to feature actually has a Foxborough resident in it. I mean, TED Talk is a national
Who's that?
Project. Sam Burns, who's a local resident, is actually featured in the first one that we're going to air.
That's wonderful.
So you're definitely going to want to tune in. We're going to put that program on our education channel, which is channel 12 on Comcast, 37 on Verizon.
Okay.
So you're going to want to check that out. We're also looking to, and we'll probably do this in a couple of months, not right away, because we're kind of in the middle of our busy season, but maybe it's a good summer thing. We want to bring in some classic movies, and in fact, we probably need some people to help find some of those classic movies or cull through the archive. But there's a lot of public domain classic movies that are really good that we'd love to share with the community and sort of feature. And I think it'd be perfect for something over the summer. So this is kind of, a lot of little things going on. Yeah.
Well, Mike, these studios are great. Anybody walking by, they can see the dynamic program that we have because we have the 3 TV displays that show the 3 channels that we have. And so in what we have here as a new studio and what we have available to folks either through training, if people want, through accessibility, and through the equipment that we have. Really, cable access is a great resource, and Mike, you're as a leader of the organization, but also as sort of the intellectual and technological guru behind understanding the politics and the intricacies of the cable access world. You've been a great resource, and we're so happy that you're here in Foxborough working with us, and hope to continue that for decades to come.
Well,
as you, your lovely wife, and your 2 great kids lose you for, it seems like 80 hours a week to us, it's our gain.
Right. Well, thank you for saying that. I enjoy coming to work every day, as I said at the beginning of the show. We get great volunteers, fun people to work with in this community.
If you're not having fun, then what's
yeah,
the point?
yeah.
Mike, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for spending the last half hour with us today on Foxborough Central. If people would like additional information about Foxborough Cable Access, call their offices at 508-543-4757 or check them out on the web at www.fcatv.org, or you can check them out on Twitter at .com/FCATV or on Facebook at facebook.com/FCATV. I don't know about Facebook and Twitter. All I know is we're here at 28 Central Street. Come on down to the studios. My thanks to Director Gary Nash, Betty Travers, Deb Storrs, Paul Guggen, Ray McKinnon, Bob Lemus, and everybody else who's working so hard behind the scenes today. Thank you, everybody. FCA works because of our volunteers. If you would like information on how to join the growing FCA family, stop by our studios. And again, call us at 508-543-4757. Until next time, I am Bob Hickey, wishing you a great day. Take care, Foxborough.